Genetic engineering. It's a phrase we hear all the time, right? It probably brings up images of glowing plants, supercrops, maybe even some sci-fi movie stuff. But what is it really? Well, today we're going to dive into this incredible technology that literally lets us edit the blueprint of life itself. In a way, we humans have been genetic modifiers for thousands of years. Think about it. We guided the evolution of dogs from wolves. We turned wild grasses into the corn we eat today. But that was always a pretty slow, kind of clumsy process. So what's changed? What makes the last half century a total revolution? It all comes down to one word: precision. And this really shows you the difference. It's like we went from using a sledgehammer to using a surgical scalpel. Traditional breeding, it mixes the entire genetic deck of cards from two parents, and then you just hope you get a winning hand, which can take generations. But genetic engineering, it lets scientists pick out one specific card, a single gene, and slip it directly into the deck right where they want it. It's so much faster, way more targeted, and get this, it can even cross the species barrier, something traditional breeding could never, ever do. So here's the bottom line. Genetic engineering is basically the toolkit we use to directly change an organism's DNA. We're not just crossing our fingers and hoping for a good trait to show up. No, we're identifying a trait we want, finding the exact gene that controls it, and then intentionally placing it into a new organism to get a very specific result. Now, a technology this powerful didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It was built, piece by piece, on decades of amazing discoveries. So let's take a look at a quick timeline of some of the biggest milestones to see how we got from a wild idea in a lab to a massive global industry. Just look at how fast this all happened. In 1972, boom, we get the first recombinant DNA. Basically, proof that you could cut and paste genes. Just 2 years later, we have the first genetically modified animal, showing this could work in complex life forms. By 82, it's already saving lives, with bacteria making pure human insulin. Then in 94, it lands on our dinner plates with the flavor saver tomato. And then 2012, the game completely changes with CRISPR, this revolutionary tool that makes gene editing cheaper, faster, and way more accurate than anything before it. Okay, I know, that all sounds incredibly complex. So how does it actually work? How do you take a gene from, say, a jellyfish and put it into a plant? Well, the whole thing can actually be broken down into a few key steps. The best way to think about it is like copying a single perfect sentence from one book and pasting it into another. So first, you got to find and isolate the exact gene you want. Then you package it into what's called a construct. This little package has the gene, of course, but also a promoter, which is like an on switch, and a marker gene so you can find the cells that actually took up the new DNA. Step 3 is delivery. And this is cool. You can use a special bacterium that naturally inserts DNA into plants, or you can use something called a gene gun that literally fires tiny gold particles coated with the DNA right into the cells. And finally, you just confirm the gene is working and then grow those few modified cells into a whole new plant or organism. Okay, so with a process this powerful, you can probably imagine the applications are just massive. Genetic engineering isn't just about farming. It's making waves in everything from medicine to manufacturing. Let's look at just a few examples. In medicine, wow, the impact has been nothing short of revolutionary. Think about insulin. Before all this, it had to be painstakingly extracted from pigs and cows. Now, we have genetically modified bacteria that act as tiny, clean factories, pumping out a limitless supply of pure human insulin. And then you have the really futuristic stuff, like gene therapy, the dream of going into a person's cells to directly fix the faulty genes that cause diseases like cystic fibrosis. It's incredible. And of course, there's agriculture, which is probably what most of us think of first. We've got corn and cotton plants that make their own natural insecticide. That means farmers can spray way fewer chemicals, which is fantastic for the environment. Other crops are designed to resist weed killers, making farming more efficient. We're even seeing things like golden rice, engineered to have more vitamin A, and salmon that grow faster to help meet the world's demand for protein. And the list just keeps going, showing you how versatile this is. We've got microbes producing the enzymes that make your laundry detergent work better. We have bacteria literally designed to eat oil spills. Scientists are even using viruses as tiny building blocks to make more efficient batteries. And in labs all over the world, they knock out genes in mice or fruit flies just to figure out what those genes do, unlocking the secrets of life itself. Now, with this technology being used so widely, it is no surprise at all that it's at the center of a huge global conversation. And this number right here, 64. That's how many countries require genetically modified foods to be labeled. It's a really clear sign that the public wants to be part of this conversation, and it leads us right into the great debate.
And yeah, that global conversation is a really complex one. You have the incredible promise of this technology on one side, and on the other, you have some very serious questions about safety, ethics, and who's in control. It really forces us to weigh the potential benefits against the potential risks.
Let's break down the main arguments. So, on the health side, critics worry about things like creating new allergies. But the broad scientific consensus, after decades of research, is that the GM foods on the market today are just as safe as non-GM foods. Environmentally, people worry about creating herbicide-resistant superweeds or harming good insects like butterflies. Proponents say, well, regular farming has similar risks that also have to be managed carefully. And then you get into the really big ethical and economic questions, like, should a few giant companies control so much of our food supply? And is it right to put a patent on a living thing? This quote really captures the nuanced position of pretty much every major scientific organization in the world. See, it's not a blanket, everything is fine. The consensus is that the technology itself isn't inherently dangerous, but, and this is a huge but, every single product made with it has to be rigorously tested on a case-by-case basis before it ever gets near the public. So here we are at this absolutely remarkable moment in human history. With tools like CRISPR, the power to rewrite the very code of life is getting easier and cheaper every single day. We've gone from changing crops to seriously talking about curing human genetic diseases. The science isn't going to slow down. So the real question for all of us, it's no longer can we do this, but should we? And how are we as a society going to choose to use this extraordinary world-changing power?